Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 84 of Hitting for the Cycle. I'm your host, Ben Kruse, alongside my co-host, Ryan Touhey. Ryan, we're in the second week of September. We got 2 more weeks of the regular season, whether we want to believe it or not. Our teams face each other this upcoming weekend in one of the biggest series in a long period of time. Of course, we'll talk about that throughout the program. And yeah, there's just a lot kind of going on in the sports world. However, before I ask in terms of how you're doing, I do want to have a quick remembrance because we've had a lot of stuff going on in this world, and I really wanted to just quickly have a brief moment of silence for Charlie Kirk and obviously the stuff that's going on. Of course, this is not a political show. If you guys want to have a political show, that's the stuff outside of there. This is of course the content that we bring you guys is the sports stuff, and that's kind of something to kind of keep away. But in this world, I couldn't help but have a quick moment of silence before I ask Ryan how you're doing, because this was something completely tragic and brutal. So I'm going to have about a 15-second moment of silence.
We actually also include the victims of the shooting in Colorado along with Kirk as well.
Yeah, so between that, of course, 9/11 was yesterday as well too.
Yes.
So it was complete whirlwind of a week for our country, and we obviously want to remember what was going on. So just a quick moment of silence, and then I'm going to ask Ryan how you're doing on your end. Thank you. Ryan, how are you doing, my friend?
I personally am doing okay. Like you said, it's been a hell of a week. A lot of things have gone on and a lot of emotional times for a lot of people. Saw a lot of bad stuff happen this week. So it kind of distracted me a little bit from what was going on the field a little bit. But, now that the Yankees and the Red Sox are scheduled to play their final series of the regular season against each other this weekend, and we're almost halfway through the month of September, and the summer is almost over. It's starting to become crunch time in Major League Baseball. So we're going to start seeing who is going to be in the dance much more clearer in the coming weeks, and where teams are going to end up. Some teams have already shown it's pretty obvious where they're going to be in the playoff picture, such as the Brewers, because they've just been taken off all over the summer. So in all likelihood, they're going to get the number 1 overall seed. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting and exciting couple of weeks, and there's nothing like October baseball.
Nothing like October baseball for sure. But obviously, before we get started, we're going to go through what we obviously do as usual, and that's through our socials. So right down here on the ticker bar below on Hitting for the Cycle at HFTC ETB on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network. Make sure to subscribe to Empty the Bench Podcast Network on YouTube. Follow Ryan Touhey at R2E97. And you can obviously follow me right down the ticker bar below at Ben Kruse 144. Also, make sure to follow Hitting for the Cycle at HFTC ETB. If you guys want to listen to any of our previous episodes or want to listen to this episode after our recording is done, make sure to go to YouTube at youtube.com/ETB Network. If you guys are on the go and you guys want to listen to our podcast, we have that as a platform. If you guys don't want to see our overall faces, you guys can listen to Hitting for the Cycle wherever you guys may be getting your podcast from. And our episode, as usual, is presented by our good friends over at Playback. Stay tuned for more throughout the program. All right, Ryan. So in this recording episode for today, we have a ton of topics that we're going to get into. We're going to start with the Phillies Karen controversy. We're going to go next to Anthony Rizzo, as he has officially announced his retirement and he's going to become a member of Chicago Cubs. So we're going to get into that as well. The Phillies lost some key players in their middle infield. Our teams are going to be playing each other for round 4 in the last regular season series, and one of the biggest series of this rivalry in a long period of time. We're also deep dive into the MLB playoff picture, and of course finish off our program for who is hot, who is not. So let's kick off now to our first topic of today, and that is the Phillies Karen controversy. Ryan, if you want to obviously give our audience kind of a quick glimpse in terms of what this overall topic is, by all means, take the floor.
Yeah, so this took place last Friday, September 6th, in the game between the Phillies and the Marlins at Lone Depot Park. So Harrison Bader hit a home run into the left field seats last Friday against the Marlins. And basically what happened was a man picked up the baseball. Once the ball landed, a bunch of fans, like any stadium and like any group of baseball fans would do, charge for the baseball and try and get the ball. It's a souvenir. It's a home run ball. Obviously, many people want it. So this man, obviously got there first, picked up the baseball, and then walked back to his seat and gave the ball to his son. But one middle-aged woman, was not very happy about it. Basically just got right in this guy's face and started just letting loose, screaming at the top of her lungs at him, scaring the kid, this poor kid, man, just seeing this woman just lose her mind over a baseball. And it got pretty intense, and there were a lot of people just getting cameras on this woman. Like, this woman, you would have thought that she was the devil. I mean, she was just screaming over a baseball. I've never seen a more passionate, more angry reaction of somebody getting a baseball. And for God's sake, I've seen videos of Zach Campbell taking baseballs, and people never lashed out like this at him.
Yeah.
So like this was just crazy, and she was just losing it. And eventually it got very intense and uncomfortable, and like she was flipping people off. And it got to the point where the father, actually gave the woman the ball, and the woman was holding it like it was a brand new baby. It was just very, very freaky. It was very bizarre. This woman was a middle-aged woman, probably in her like late 40s, early 50s, I'd say. It was wild. And, the video quickly blew up, quickly went viral. And before the end of the game, the Phillies and Harrison Bader actually gave the kid, who the father was trying to give the ball to, a bag of goodies, which included, I think, a bath by Harrison or something like that. And I think he was actually able to meet, and I think Harrison actually met with the father and the son. At the conclusion of the game. I think that he paid them a visit. But regardless, in today's society, as we all know, there are cameras everywhere, and you got to watch how you conduct yourself and behave in public. This woman did not behave in public. Her face blew up on the internet and blew up on social media, and now she became the talk of the town, and she kind of ruined her reputation. She was terminated from her job. I don't know the name of the woman. I just know that, she screwed up big time, and over something so small. I mean, look, I understand the excitement of getting a baseball at a major league game. I personally have never gotten a ball, and I've rarely ever come close to getting a ball at a baseball game in the major leagues. I've gotten foul balls at like independent games and minor league games, but it's very hard to get one at a major league game. So I understand the excitement, and I understand the frustration when you come close and you don't get one, because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. But still, at the end of the day, it's a ball. And this woman, you would have thought that this guy did something so terrible. He didn't knock the woman down. He didn't push her out of the way when he was retrieving the ball. It's every person for themselves when you go after a ball. So obviously, as long as you don't shove anybody or push anybody out of the way, you're allowed to pursue a baseball if it's in your general vicinity. And the guy did that. But this woman, she felt entitled. She felt like she was the most important. She felt like that ball belonged to her. And she screwed up her life, unfortunately. And, now she's dealing with the consequences. And people are calling her Philly Karen, or Karen Philly, or whatever they want to call her. The whole situation was just bizarre, unnecessary. Unless especially when a kid is involved, kids love baseball. You don't want to do that when there's a kid involved. You don't want to behave like that in front of a kid. So, I mean, shame on the woman. She's paying the price. I mean, I do feel bad that she got terminated by her job. I think that's a little extreme, because I think that people went out of their way to find as much information about this woman as possible. And then eventually her name got leaked, and then eventually her employer was receiving calls and notifications, and then eventually her employer had to let her go. I mean, people should have something better to do with their life than just dive into the internet and just try and find who this person is. Like that was a little too far, I think, in terms of, what this woman is dealing with. But, unfortunately, it's the way life is, and she's gotta deal with it, and her life's probably never going to be the same again. But at least the kid goes home happy, and yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, who ended up winning that game?
Probably the Phillies.
Okay.
I'll double check. Hold on.
If the Marlins ended up winning that game, that would have been absolutely just ironic karma for this Phillies fan that essentially got this ball. But in terms of the actual type of incident, I didn't really kind of dig deep.
Yeah, they won. Phillies won that game 6-4. Or no, 4-2.
Damn, I was gonna say I was gonna really root hard for the Marlins that night, but regardless of the fact, that's beside the point. Ryan, yes, I agree with you 100%. I have gone to baseball at an MLB game. That was a batting practice ball by Ryan. If you know this guy, Derek Collin.
I've heard of him.
Derek Collin, lefty reliever. It was a White Sox Red Sox game at Fenway, and Derek Collin got the ball in right field. I was right by the pesky ball. He basically just one-hopped me the ball, and I caught it. Right? People around me kind of looked at me. Obviously they smiled at me. Right? That's essentially kind of the respectable common courtesy about if somebody gets you the ball. Obviously, if there's a kid around, right, to give them the ball. That's obviously the respectful type of thing. But when you look at this, Ryan, like you said, she was a middle-aged type of woman. She probably spent a buttload of money. Yes, obviously going to Miami Marlins game probably is not a lot of money. But if you think about it, right, you pay the ticket, you probably pay for parking. Obviously, you pay for the parking, you pay for the food. So you're paying everything specifically just to go to this game, and you essentially just kind of waste it away for basically getting in somebody's face that essentially was a guy with a kid. So not only was just a guy, but a guy with a kid. So essentially, as a middle-old age woman, you're essentially taking away from not only the guy, but you're not representing yourself for this kid even too. So it was, you just talk about an awful look, right? And say if we were in that position, right, if you're going to go right where the ball is, yeah, of course you can try to make an attempt for it, but don't go out of your way like somebody stole something like personal property, right? It's a baseball. It's really, it's not that deep. It really is not. And obviously there's countless amount of baseball games out there that if she couldn't get it at that ball for that game, she could have went to another type of game somewhere else. I mean, it's to essentially lose your reputation. Now, Ryan, I know obviously the job situation that I kind of agree. I think maybe that's a little bit too outrageous, but don't put yourself in that position in which essentially you just have an awful look on you. The job essentially, they probably looked at that certain situation because it was viral on camera. Of course, where things now are on camera countless times, right? We're just kind of in a world like that. And they probably looked at that, and they probably looked in terms of how do you represent yourself? That's one of the biggest things in the job world. They probably saw that situation. They said, we're done. We're not doing anything else with you moving forward.
Yeah, well, I understand. Obviously that goes with any organization. They want to be represented in the best way possible. I mean, it's common sense. They don't want to be associated with somebody like that representing their organization. But the reason why I was saying I think that was a little too far is because I think people definitely played a role in her firing, and they were trying to find out who this person was, and we're going into her personal life and all that stuff. I was just saying that people should have something better to do than to look up a stranger and to try and find out what they can about her. That's basically what I was insinuating.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, this story specifically is just kind of, it's what it is now, right?
Yeah.
Really, anything that's typically a controversy, really, I feel like on this show, there's kind of like another part to it. This one, it's just kind of, it happened, and that's kind of that.
Yes.
So that's that. All right. Now we're going to get into a player, Anthony Rizzo, who it's actually funny enough, where he was actually with his wife at the Yankees-Tigers game round 2 on Tuesday night.
Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday.
Wednesday. Thank you.
One of the 2 days. One of the first 2 games.
Yeah, he was at the second game.
Mm-hmm.
because I know that yesterday was it yesterday? Yesterday.
He was not at the game yesterday.
Okay. Well, regardless of the fact. So Anthony Rizzo put out a public statement on I think his Instagram was his first place where he put it out. And, obviously Rizzo was a free agent in this offseason. Nobody picked him up. And he's been kind of a player, which he's kind of at the back end of his career. Obviously, he was with your Yanks, Ryan, for the last couple of years of his overall now his career. And he played a total of 14 seasons. So Anthony Rizzo was one of the best first basemen, I think, in this game. At least you can obviously make an argument. Hall of Famer, because I know obviously people are talking about Hall of Famer. I don't think he's an Hall of Famer per se, but I think that if you talk about one of the best Cubs out there, where he's going to be a member and he's going to retire, which hats off to him. And obviously, I think many Yankee fans, including yourself, Ryan, can obviously understand specifically that overall point in time because, that's really kind of the team where he really became Anthony Rizzo, was with the Chicago Cubs. I do think that Rizzo really liked his time with the Yankees. I think that he really kind of grew into the person that he really became now. But he led the Chicago Cubs to the World Series title in 2016 and basically broke the curse for the Cubs, who essentially were, they were in a drought, essentially kind of like my Red Sox were. And Rizzo was kind of in that core group with guys like Chris Bryant and others to essentially get the Cubs over the hump. And, you can't help but respect that. This is coming from ESPN article from Jesse Rogers, who's obviously very well known. And he basically said that the Cubs and Anthony Rizzo are going to have an on-field ceremony at Wrigley Field on Saturday's game before they take on the Tampa Bay Rays. Like I said, Rizzo played for 14 seasons. He had made 3 All-Star teams and won 4 Gold Gloves. And his biggest accomplishment was the Cubs World Series title in 2016. He also played his final 3.5 seasons with your Yankees, Ryan, after being traded in the summer of 2021. This is from Cubs executive chairman Tom Ricketts in a statement. He said, Anthony Rizzo was the face of one of the most successful eras in Chicago Cubs history, and we are so excited he will be part of our organization for many years to come. His play on the field spoke for itself and was recognized with multiple All-Star appearances, Gold Glove awards, the Roberto Clemente Award, and ultimately being the leader of the 2016 World Series Cubs team. Rizzo had a career of 828 OPS, including 303 home runs. And his first home run became a member. Actually, Ryan, it wasn't a member of the Cubs or the Yankees. Obviously, it wasn't the Yankees. His first homer was with the San Diego Padres. Mm-hmm. After he was traded from my Red Sox. Yes, he actually, technically speaking, was with my Red Sox, but not obviously for very long. The Cubs acquired him in a trade in 2012 before his career really took off. And yeah, I mean, Anthony Rizzo, he was an incredible talent on the field. But Ryan, he was also well known for his off the field stuff too, and all of his work. He worked with a bunch of cancer patients as much as for his on the field accolades. He was also a cancer survivor himself, and he created the Anthony Rizzo Family Foundation, which was a sole purpose to service kids with cancer. And in 2017, that's where he got the Roberto Clemente Award. So, Ryan, just all in all, absolute incredible career for Anthony Rizzo. He killed my Red Sox countless times with the Yankees. He obviously with the Cubs, that was one of my favorite teams to watch in that era, and a team specifically that definitely deserved to win a ring over the great organization like the Cubs. So, and of course, the off the field stuff too. I mean, being a cancer survivor and obviously leading that foundation to have that Roberto Clemente Award given to him. So he's just a great overall type of person, it seems like, on the field and off the field. And obviously the play itself represented one of the biggest reasons why he was so successful.
Yeah, congratulations to Anthony Rizzo on a great career. Like you mentioned, he played with the Padres, the Cubs, and the Yankees. He was initially drafted by the Red Sox, but he was traded to the Padres in that Adrian Gonzalez deal all those years ago. His first career hit was a triple, I believe, in 2011. And then he was traded to the Cubs the following year in 2012. And he had a very solid first season with the Cubs, hit 285 with a 342 on base percentage, slugged 463, and hit 15 home runs during the Cubs rebuilding stage. He only appeared in 87 games that year, but by 2013, he became the Cubs' everyday first baseman. And, from like 2016, the Cubs started to take off. And then, or 2015, I should say, the Cubs returned to the postseason. Obviously, they were swept by the Mets in the NLCS that year, but then they finally got to the World Series in 2016, and 2016 was Rizzo's best year. He hit 32 home runs, drove in 109 runs. He hit 292, 385 on base percentage, 544 slugging percentage, and 928 OPS. He had a great NLCS against the Dodgers, and he hit 2 home runs in that series, one in Game 4 and one in the clinching Game 6 off of Clayton Kershaw at Wrigley Field. And he had a great 2016 World Series. He was one of the top offensive players for the Cubs in that series. He hit 360. He had a home run in Game 6 against Cleveland. He went 9 for 25 in that series with 5 runs batted in. He had 3 doubles. So he was a big offensive force for the Cubs in the 2016 World Series, along with Chris Bryant, Ben Zobrist. And the Cubs obviously finally winning the World Series, breaking the curse of the Billy Goat that had been ongoing for well over a century, 108 years. And he helps put that curse to bed once and for all. That was certainly, like you mentioned, the highlight of Rizzo's career. He stayed with the Cubs for a couple of more seasons before being traded to the Yankees at the trade deadline in 2021. He started out pretty high with the Yankees. Then he got COVID later on in the 21 season. Really, once he got COVID, his production kind of steadily went down in the coming years. In 2022, that was his only full season really with the Yankees. In 2022, he played in a total of 130 games. He hit 32 home runs and drove in 75, but his batting average went down. And in the coming years, he dealt with a lot of injuries, and his production was just not the same. And after 2024, it was clear that he just wasn't the same player anymore. So that's basically why he wasn't picked up by anybody in the offseason, because his power was way down. He got hurt every year. So kind of a sad way for his career to end, because he really was a great player, and he was one of the best first basemen in the mid 2010s. He was like top 3. I'd say he was like among the top 3 first basemen in Major League Baseball, along with Freddie Freeman and Miguel Cabrera. In like the mid 2010s, I think those guys were like the top 3 first basemen in baseball. But still, Rizzo had a great career, and obviously we'll go into Chicago. Will always be remembered in Chicago Cubs history. Obviously, that's where his career shines the brightest. So congratulations to Anthony Rizzo on a great career.
Another thing too that you forgot to mention, but you said that he dealt with a lot of injuries, and I was thinking about it when obviously we're talking. If you remember, for those that don't remember, Anthony Rizzo had a concussion that when he was going back to first base, Fernando Tatis Jr., pretty sure he spiked him going back on a pickoff attempt. And basically Rizzo pretty much was in a head fog, and because his production was actually pretty good before obviously he had that happen. And then pretty much kind of from there, he pretty much was just not the same guy.
Yeah, it was kind of like a light switch going off. It was a very freaky like you mentioned, once that happened, he was never the same. He really struggled. His power was just zapped almost, and it was tough to watch. It was really tough to watch because Rizzo was a very professional player, very, very good hitter for all these years, and to just see him turn into what he became like towards the second half of the 23 season and all of 24. I mean, he also suffered a pretty serious injury at Fenway Park last year where he fractured his arm. So it was a tough way. It was tough to watch, and it's sad because Rizzo's a class. It was sad because Rizzo's a class act, and like I said, he was a great player. I don't know. I never thought that he was going to be a Hall of Famer before all of that happened, but I thought that he could maybe play a little more deeper into his 30s. He's only 36 years old, so he's still very young. I thought that he could play maybe till like 30, 38, 39 if, he still had a little bit of production in him. But unfortunately, it just wasn't there.
And the Red Sox-Yankees wildcard game, 6-2 in favor of the Red Sox. One of the runs for the Yankees was actually a homer by Anthony Rizzo against Nathan Eovaldi, if you obviously remember that. So 2021, and like you mentioned in 2022, where he had pretty much a full season, that's when really his peak of the Yankees career kind of happened. And then pretty much unfortunately for a lot of these players, Ryan, some of these injuries, and it pretty much you're not the same guy, or you just can't play anymore. It's frankly as simple as that. But regardless of the fact that we obviously have to give Anthony Rizzo his dues. And another thing, for him to be a cancer survivor, you talk about just off the field stuff, the amount of stuff you had to kind of go through. So between on the field stuff where all the injuries happen, and then of course off the field stuff where he's a cancer survivor. This guy specifically went through it all, but he went through it all specifically with the great overall heart. And I think that's one of the biggest things that he always had was that too. Yeah. So hopefully the Cub fans give him a great overall honor and reward for tomorrow's game, because they definitely deserve it. And we'll see specifically if they can pull out a win for his big day tomorrow. All right. So our next topic is going to be the Phillies. The Phillies, of course, just came off of a massive, massive sweep against their NL East division foes, the slumping hard New York Mets. After the New York Mets took it to them really at Citi Field, the Phillies said, listen, we're going to pay back the favor and then some. And they essentially did it with two of their main pieces out in their lineup. So I will give it over to my doctor of the program, Ryan, here. And he's going to go talk about specifically these injuries for these two main players of the Phillies.
Yeah, so Trea Turner suffered a hamstring injury last weekend when the Phillies were in Miami. And Alec Bohm, he is also on the injured list as well. I'm trying to find out what Bohm has right here. They're 10-day IL stints, so it's obviously it's a blow to the Phillies, no doubt about it. Fortunately, Alec Bohm on the other hand. So like I said, Trea Turner has a hamstring injury, and Bohm has left shoulder inflammation. So they're both 10-day IL stints. So both guys theoretically should be back in time for the postseason. I think over the Phillies' dead bodies, are they going to allow these guys to miss the postseason because they're both essential to them. But you just hope that these injuries don't get in the way of them performing in the postseason. That's obviously a big concern. The Phillies have really nothing to worry about in terms of them clinching the NL East. They're gonna win the division easily, and they're probably gonna get a bye in the first. And they're probably not gonna have to worry about the wild card series or anything like that. They'll probably get the number 2 seed in the National League playoffs. The Brewers are going to be the number 1 seed. But yeah, it's a tough blow to the Phillies. They've been hit hard with some injuries this year. It has not been smooth sailing for the Phillies, and it's kind of surprising to see how easily they have taken off with the division, considering all the injuries that they've had this year and all the struggles that they've had with the Mets this year, until finally taking it to them this past week and sweeping them. Was it 4 straight? I think so. 4 straight. Yeah. The Mets have just had the Phillies number for a while now, and the Phillies finally got a little taste of revenge this past week, and basically put the nail in the coffin for the Mets' division aspirations. So yeah, the Phillies, overall they're in a good spot. I don't think they have too much to be concerned with. Obviously they lost Zach Wheeler a couple weeks ago to the blood clot, so that was the biggest blow to their rotation, obviously. And losing anybody the caliber of Trea Turner, especially, and Alec Bohm, who's known for hitting a lot of doubles. That definitely hurts them. But I do think these guys will be back in time for the postseason. But it just really depends. You just hope that these guys are able to overcome their injuries to the fullest when it comes to crunch time. But yeah, I mean, it still sucks regardless.
Sucks, right? And obviously Zach Wheeler, we pretty much talked about, obviously him going down sucked. How would the rotation be able to bounce back after that? I think so far they pretty much kind of passed the test, especially them to have their four kind of main guys now next man up mentality, pitching a massive series against the New York Mets and pretty much hold a fairly decent lineup down, right? Monday's game happened and Aaron Nola pitched. Nola obviously has not pitched well this year for the Phillies, but had a very, very solid, encouraging outing for the Phillies. And on Tuesday, Ranger Suarez pitched. He was incredible. Christopher Sanchez on Wednesday pitched. He was incredible. And then Jesus Luzardo, after giving up 4 runs in the first inning against the Mets, in which it looked like the Mets were going to maybe salvage one of the games in the series, the Phillies were able to get their bats back and able to actually take the lead thanks to Harrison Bader, which I'll talk about. Hint, hint, he might be one of my Who's Hot players of the week. We will see what happens. But, yeah, I mean, losing Trea Turner, Turner's obviously a leadoff hitter. He is kind of their energizer bunny, I guess if you can say that. But they've kind of put it different spots at the top of the line now, including Bryce Harper, Ryan, at the leadoff hole, or a guy like Kyle Schwarber. So the Phillies, one of the biggest things about a team, Ryan, is you're going to have a lot of big injuries that happen over the course of the year, unfortunately. But if you have the depth specifically to kind of take over those type of spots, look at a guy like Otto Kemp. Otto Kemp was kind of a backup for the Phillies, and he had a big homer to kind of get themselves back in the game. So it's a next man up mentality, and I think that, when Turner and Bohm come back, especially for the playoff run, because like you said, the Phillies definitely should be locked into the NL East crown at this point in time. The Phillies should be in a pretty good spot. I really do think that if there's, like we talked about with the Dodgers, if there's another team specifically, potentially the National League, that can overcome some of these injuries, it could be a team like the Phillies, as they've been playing very good baseball as of late.
Yeah, I think they're going to be fine. I really do, and they do have a lot of depth this year. But I mean, the Phillies, I think, are feeling a lot of pressure this year, more so than they have in years past in the postseason. I mean, because they obviously went to the World Series in 22, and every year since then, they've taken one step backwards. So, I mean, and a lot of these guys, like Kyle Schwarber is in a contract here. He's going to be a free agent. So a lot of these guys are, in their early 30s now, or early to mid 30s. So I think really, and I mentioned this even as far as back as last year, after the Phillies were upset by the Mets in the NLDS, I vividly remember telling you, saying that I think this year is the final year for a lot of these guys, for this group of players, for this core group of guys. So, I mean, pressure's on for the Phillies here. I mean, I think this is going to be a very different team in 2026. So, if you want to win with this group that you got right here, now's the time.
Yeah, now's the time. And like I mentioned, this is kind of the end of the core for this team. Kyle Schwarber is going to be free agent at the end of this year. I mean, this is a guy who just eclipsed the 50-mark homer of this season. So I do think he's going to come back, but there's a lot, at stake for this team. But, hopefully they'll get back and better and lead the Phillies to, a deep playoff run. Hitting for the Cycle is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience, from playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/CTB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And now back to the show. Okay, Ryan. We have now gone into the round 4 of the heavyweight match between these two teams, the Red Sox and the Yankees. Before we really dive deep into this series, we were talking about injuries, and I was thinking to myself, man, we did not include something in this program, but it deals with an injury. And that deals with one of the players of your team, Ryan, the New York Yankees, and Anthony Volpe, as there has been reports out that Anthony Volpe has gotten surgery on his torn labrum. Of course,
He hasn't gotten surgery.
He hasn't gotten the surgery.
He has not gotten surgery.
Thank you. But there was a report out yesterday that he's playing through something, essentially. That's kind of what's going on. Aaron Boone essentially pretty much has kind of downplayed it, essentially saying that, he's been okay, this and that. He's pretty much been kind of, I don't really know what the word is. He's essentially just kind of cradling him, essentially, because we know for a fact, and Yankee fans, including yourself, Ryan, have just been an absolute just barrage on Anthony Volpe this season. Just given kind of his offensive numbers has just been god awful. He has, I think, tied in terms of what do you say now? 16 errors on the season?
More than that, it's 19, I think.
So I mean, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And I wanted to quickly give your overall input in terms of that because obviously it's a Yankees player. We'd obviously never want to wish injuries at all. And of course, if obviously he's dealing with it, I hope he's okay. But does this excuse him for the poor play that he has had this year? Or do you think that he flat out sucks regardless of the fact? Because there's so much of an excuse they can really have as an injury, right? In terms of the overall play that you have had. But, he basically was asked, I think, yesterday about it. And it didn't seem like he was very concerned. I mean, he's kind of a very soft-spoken type of kid anyway, as is. I think there's many Yankee fans out there right now that, Jose Caballero is really kind of taking that shortstop role. And I'm not going to lie, Ryan. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen because I think Aaron Boone and Cashman really like Volpe. But I do think that his future with the Yankees is pretty much in bleak right now. I really do. I think that there is some doubt specifically with what's going on. And I want to get your overall input on about this because, do you think that this injury has really kind of just completely ruined his overall season for this year? And do you think that he has a massive belief that he can turn it around? Or do you just think that has just really just declined and this is just kind of it for what's going on?
I do think this injury has screwed with him this season. I mean, the torn labrum is not something that should be taken lightly. The fact that Boone is trying to downplay the injury a little bit, saying that he doesn't think that this is the reason for his struggles. I mean, I don't know if Boone has ever torn his labrum. I don't really know anybody who has torn a labrum, but from what I've heard, tearing your labrum is extremely painful. And it hurts to do even the simplest of tasks. I was listening to a Yankee podcast that I listen to quite often. It's called Pinstripe Territory. It's from the Foul Territory Network. The host is Derek Lewandowski, who's had experience in baseball. I think he was a minor league pitcher for a while. And he was basically discussing just how badly it hurts when you tear your labrum. And he said that it hurt for him to even pick up a milk jug from the refrigerator. So, I mean, if it hurts for him to do something like that, then I can only imagine the pain that Anthony Volpe has been going through this year. When you tear your labrum, it's not necessarily – the act obviously aggravates it, but it really is when you, slow down the motion of what you're doing, such as, throwing a baseball or swinging a bat. That's when the pain really starts to kick in. According to Lewandowski. The labrum tear for Volpe is in his non-throwing shoulder. It's in his left shoulder. But still, I mean, he's right-handed, so so obviously, like Derek also mentioned this in the podcast, this is his right shoulder. So obviously when he's twerking his body, and this could explain why, his hip is all the way in the other dugout, and he's so far out in front where he's almost releasing the bat with just one hand on a swing. I definitely think that the tear is just screwing around with his swing. I think that it gets to the point where he's just in so much pain on a swing that he has to let go of the bat with one hand to try and ease some of the pain, and he just is praying to God that he's just making contact. So I definitely think that this injury has just really hurt him this year. I don't think it's a complete drop off. I don't think it's just a decreased skill set. I think I think Volpe certainly has let his mentality screw around with him to an extent. I definitely think that his defense has just got. I think his defense is more mentally problematic than mechanically. But still, I mean, I also listening to Lewandowski on his podcast. He also mentioned that even fielding could be hard for him with this torn labrum because he's just trying to get himself in a comfortable position to extend his arms out, and that might be an explanation as to why he's letting ground balls come to him rather than charging in, or so on and so forth. So when I heard this news, I just went, of course. The Yankees, when it comes to diagnosing injuries, are completely hit or miss. I mean, we were talking about Anthony Rizzo. I mean, they misdiagnosed a concussion with him.
Yeah,
they had that. They've had a hit. The Yankees have had a history.
Even as of recent, Aaron Judge is going through an injury, and if you remember the play, for those specifically that is listening right now on air, Aaron Judge was brought into right field as recent after being basically on a right field hiatus due to an injury. And the game specifically that he was in right field, there was a runner going from second base to home plate. Aaron Judge has a fantastic arm. He is one of the best arms, I think, specifically in right field. And as the runner was going to second base specifically, Aaron Judge just kind of casually just threw it to the cutoff man, and the guy scored. When you actually look at the overall replay of it, though, the guy specifically rounding third didn't even get to like halfway to get to home. And I think so that was really a lot of just spins around saying, is his arm right now cooked? You know, what's going on specifically with that arm right now? And now you're kind of seeing the Yankees kind of downplay it of, oh, you know, we're trying to – you remember the Aaron Boone comment, Ryan? He basically said, well, we're kind of working on the cutoff. I don't know if that was kind of the overall comment specifically about it.
Boone got very defensive when the reporters asked him about that throw. It was really pathetic, honestly.
Yeah.
It was right then and there. He flat out gave it away that Judge is hurting. I mean, he handled that so poorly. He could not hide his BS behind that comment. That was such a bad job by Boone. That was He was. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, if you're hitting the cutoff man for the runner not even going halfway to home plate with the arm that he has, I'm like, there's no way that he's not hurt, because he would definitely have made an attempt to throw that baseball to home plate.
Yeah, like I said, that was such a bad job by Boone trying to explain the situation. He basically just confirmed. He was saying, "We're handling it. Shut up." So that's basically what it boiled down to. And I mean, that was so bad. But this is also very bad with Anthony Volpe. Now the Yankees going into the postseason. You know, I think the Yankees are. I think it's safe to say the Yankees are going to make the postseason in all likelihood as a wild card. But now you have a compromised Aaron Judge in right field, and you have a hole at shortstop. I mean, I know you said that Caballero has played pretty well. Sure, Caballero is a respectable ball player, but he's not an everyday shortstop, if you ask me. I think he's more of a utility guy. He's more of a guy who can play every other day or two. Like
Oswaldo Cabrera. He's essentially
that's a perfect example. He's Oswaldo Cabrera.
Oswaldo Cabrera, that's not a switch hitter.
Yes, and he does have a lot of speed. I mean, he's first in Major League Baseball, I believe, in stolen bases. So he's definitely valuable. He brings value. But I mean, if the Yankees run Anthony Volpe out there in the postseason after the season he's had with a torn labrum in his shoulder, it's going to be a mess. Volpe has had a horrible year. There's no doubt about it, obviously. And no matter what the Yankees do with him, there's Volpe at this point in 2025 is at the point of no return. He's not going to be good at all this year, whether that's regular season or postseason. I just do not see him being a productive ball player at all in 2025. If I'm the Yankees, I'm more concerned with Volpe going into next season than this season, because this season is a complete wash. There's nothing that Volpe's going to be able to do this year that's going to help this team. And I feel bad for Volpe. I really do, because he seems like a really good guy. And I think he's just been overwhelmed this year by all the constant criticism and scrutiny that he's come under. Part of it, I'm sure. Part of it, I'm not going to use this labrum tear as an excuse entirely. He has himself to blame for some aspects of his game this year. I think he's had some mental lapses this year where he's thrown the ball to the wrong base in the field. Sometimes,
there's a couple things that I'm seeing that are just even if he wasn't injured, he shouldn't.
Yes, you can't completely blame the injury on him for the season he's had. That's not right. You got to be held accountable for some things about your game. But Boone and the Yankees should not downplay this injury. I think this injury has played a larger role than people, I think, realize. I know Yankee fans, when ball players don't perform, the Yankee fans have a very short patience span with baseball players. So I can understand why fans have been disappointed with Volpe this year. I mean, I've been critical of him this year, obviously. He's been an easy target, but the Yankees definitely did not help him out in any way, shape, or form. And you know what? You got to blame the Yankees for his struggles too, because this has gone on all season long. I was blaming the Yankee coaching staff for not having them help him out more and fixing his offensive struggles or his defensive struggles. And then I hear this news about the labrum tear. I'm thinking to myself, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah. Now let's get into the actual weekend.
Yes. I didn't realize how long this was going on for.
Now, obviously, Ryan, this is one of the biggest weekends for both teams. Like you talked about the Yankees, I think the Yankees are pretty much a lock to make the playoffs. Whether it's a division or it's for a wild card.
I think it's wild card at this point.
For the Red Sox, the Red Sox, I think their chances to make the playoffs, which I still think is at a pretty decent clip, right? Yes. But it's not at a point in time where it should be comfortable even too, because you were talking about the Yankees and their chance to make the postseason. I think you also take a look into the schedule the rest of the way. The Yankees have a pretty favorable schedule. Now, granted, obviously, you play who you play, and I'm obviously not going to sugarcoat it. And two, they play Baltimore twice, and Baltimore actually, as of late, has been pretty good in terms of spoiler role. So in terms of the Yankees, there shouldn't be any type of easy wins, but those should be specifically type of games you should take advantage for, towards the crunch time. The Red Sox, on the other hand, they're 2 games, up in the second wild card. But unfortunately with the Red Sox, and maybe this is a good thing for the Red Sox, especially if they get into the postseason. After the Yankees series, they got the A's, and the A's, we just played the A's in Oakland. And obviously I'm not going to do my team report right now, but the A's are a pretty good offensive team. It's more of their pitching staff that's kind of a mess right now. And then we go to Tampa. Tampa is obviously just kind of that team that's going to be completely pesky. Then we go to Toronto. And Toronto is obviously going to be playing for the division. And then, Ryan, we finish it off with the Tigers. So our stretch coming up is going to be a lot tougher than your stretch of the season. So if there was, between both of our teams, if there was going to be one of our teams for some odd reason to miss the playoffs, it'd be probably the Red Sox, especially with the Red Sox not being in the playoffs since 2021. But in terms of this overall series, Ryan, I want to ask you in terms of this, right? Because obviously both of our teams are coming off of, well, my team specifically is coming off of a 3-3 road trip. Our start, against Arizona was complete disaster. And there's no sugarcoating around it. But we got to win on Sunday. We went to the A's, which, by the way, that ballpark is a joke. It's a joke. I don't want to play there anymore. But, I feel for the A's fans, and I feel for, obviously, for their organization. It basically was a Red Sox away game, essentially. I mean, most of the fans going there were Red Sox fans. I did not see many fans over there that were A's fans, and I feel for that organization. Red Sox took two or three from the A's. And Ryan Aroldis Chapman, his 50 innings pitched.
About damn time.
I was going to ask, listen, right? Aroldis Chapman has been a godsend for us this season. As a for I did not expect that whatsoever. We have not had a closer this dominant probably since Koji.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. He never did anything else ever again after that.
Yeah. But listen, I'm going to take what I can take because we haven't had guys like Aroldis in a long period of time. And even if he was like semi-decent, he's probably a lot better than what we've had. So just a matter of he's been that dominant. I just think has been great. This weekend, though, what do you feel? What's your prediction?
I'm not feeling too hot about my team going into Fenway Park this weekend. The Yankees have struggled all season long against the Red Sox. They've played lifeless mostly against the Red Sox this year. And the Red Sox just have outpitched the Yankees. They've certainly outhit the Yankees, and they've played much better defense, obviously, too, than the Yankees. I mean, this weekend, the probables, tonight it's Luis Gil against Lucas Giolito. Tomorrow it's Max Fried against Brian Bayo. And then on Sunday it's Will Warren against Garrett Crochet. So the fact that the Yankees are facing Bayo and Crochet this weekend is not exactly.
Giolito. I mean, Giolito is in terms of rotation, our three best guys. Giolito's our number 3.
So yeah, I'm not necessarily feeling that optimistic going into this weekend. Right away, I'm going to say that the Red Sox take 2 out of 3. I just don't feel good. The Yankees haven't given me much of a reason to feel hopeful when they've played the Red Sox this year. The Yankees have embarrassed themselves against the Red Sox this year. They look like they don't know what they're doing on the field when they face the Red Sox this year. They look overwhelmed. The pressure looks like it gets to them to face their most hated rivals. The Red Sox just look like they have much more motivation playing against the Yankees than the Yankees do against the Red Sox. So, I think I'll give the Yankees the win tonight. I say that the Yankees will, do well against Giolito for the most part. I don't know if Luis Gil's going to pitch that well, though. Gil,
right?
He's been good for the most part, but you never know what you're going to get with Luis Gil. His one day,
command-wise, yeah.
One day he'll look phenomenal, but him at Fenway Park, I don't like that combination. He can get wild and he can walk a lot of guys, and obviously with the Green Monster, it doesn't take much to get an extra base hit at Fenway Park. So I just think that as long as the Red Sox just try and go to left field off of him, it's going to be a long night for Gil. So, but I do think that the Yankees will do a little more against Giolito. So I'll give the Yankees tonight, well,
go with your gut, man. I don't care.
You know what? Maybe the Red Sox. You know what? I'm going to say the Red Sox take tonight. I'm going to give the Red Sox. I want to change it up. Red Sox will win tonight. Tomorrow's Max Fried against Brian Bayo. The Yankees, I don't think have scored a single run against Brian Bayo all year long. I think Bayo will give up a run tomorrow against the Yankees. And the Yankees have Max Fried going tomorrow. Fried's been better recently. Yeah. I'll say the Yankees take. I'll say the Yankees take tomorrow. But then Sunday Night Baseball, Crochet against Will Warren. There's no way I'm picking against Garrett Crochet against Will Warren. So yeah. So I say 2 out of 3. I say you guys take 2 out of 3. You'll win tonight. We'll win tomorrow. You guys win Sunday.
All right. For us, Ryan, I think you got to take into 2 factors. It's 2 guys specifically in our lineup that we are missing, and 2 guys that have been pretty good against the Yankees. Roman Anthony, you're going to be not facing this weekend. That's one of the best Red Sox hitters. That is a Red Sox guy that legitimately killed the Yankees the last time they faced the Yankees. William Abreu is another guy in the lineup that you're not going to see this weekend. So, the Red Sox have their own issues right now in the lineup, and it's honestly been kind of tough without the Roman injury to cut this kind of lineup now going. Now, granted, they have been scoring a lot more as of late. They scored in the last 3 games 5 or more plus runs, and I mean, with myself specifically, I got to feel pretty good in terms of coming into this weekend because not only the Red Sox have had your number all season, but you're having your 3 best guys going. So you got to feel pretty good overall too, especially at home. Now, obviously, the Red Sox might have taken the first 3 series, and it's like the Yankees kind of have, their payback, I guess. Like, that's kind of my overall thinking about it is like maybe they take this series because, granted, the Yankees, when they went to Fenway last year in September, they swept the Red Sox. And that was kind of the nail in the coffin for the Red Sox, the rest of the season. And I could see the Yankees taking 2 out of 3, if our bats don't get going. I really can see that happening. Now, I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go 2 out of 3. I think between the 2 teams, I don't think there's going to be a sweep with either of the teams. I don't see that happening. I would love to see obviously the Red Sox be a sweep, but I do think the Yankees are going to take one of the games. I'm going to say the Yankees take tonight. I think with Giolito as of recent has been good, but he's been kind of more in the up and down, kind of like we've been more accustomed to. Of course, he's starting to regress a little bit after what was completely an incredible stretch. Brian Bale absolutely owns two of the best Yankee hitters, and that's Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. So I think that Brian Bale, granted he's going against Max Fried, that's going to be a low, close game. I'm liking the Red Sox because the Yankees bullpen is an absolute shambles. Sunday, Garrett Crochet against Will Warren. If we can't hit Will Warren, we deserve to lose the series. So I'm going to say Red Sox take 2 or 3.
Okay, but you just have the win and losses reversed. You have us winning tonight, and you guys are going to win on Saturday.
I got loss, win. That's what I have.
Yeah, I have loss, win, loss. Speaking from a Yankee perspective, but we both agree that the Red Sox take 2 out of 3. I mean, this is the final series of this long gauntlet stretch that the Yankees have had. That they began.
That's what I'm worried about. Is they're going to be playing for house money, and they obviously know that. They know for a fact that this team that's across from them has essentially been absolutely just going off on them. And if there was a time specifically for the Yankees to kind of get themselves going, especially after last night, it's this weekend. So I do obviously worry about it, but I do think by the end of this that both of our teams will still be in the playoffs.
We might. I think we're going to face each other in the postseason. I do. I think it's going to be Yankees Red Sox in the wild card series.
For anybody that's going this weekend, this is essentially the pre-playoff before the playoffs. I think that's pretty much kind of how you have it.
I'm going to be so miserable with this wild card series.
You're going to be having this weekend. I mean, this is honestly one of the biggest weekends probably at Fenway, probably since 2021. And the 2021, that's obviously why, Ryan, for us specifically going to Yankee Stadium, I don't feel great about it, obviously, despite us obviously owning you guys, because it only takes obviously a couple of games. It really, like you mentioned to me off the air yesterday, the regular season, those stats go out of the window. Granted, specifically kind of what we've done, and I obviously understand that. But you were talking about the Yankees and Aaron Boone. When he looks at Alex Cora, he just kind of shivers. He doesn't know specifically what's going on, especially when the games get tight. And that's where I like our advantage.
Yeah, I mean, this matchup this year has just been so one-sided. I haven't seen the rivalry be this one-sided in a long time. It's been embarrassing as a Yankee fan. There's no doubt about it. We just have looked like crap against you guys all year long.
Well, Ryan, best of luck, my friend, this weekend. We'll see what happens, and we'll talk about it next week. All right, so before we conclude today's program, I almost said tonight, we're going to get into our who is hot, who is not, because obviously we have a couple more minutes left, and I think that this is kind of an appropriate time to do it. So my who is hot player, and I kind of made that hint in terms of the player earlier on the program, so for the people that were listening earlier on the program, good for you guys. Appreciate it. My hot player of this is going to Harrison Bader from the Philadelphia Phillies. Right, Harrison Bader, I don't know if you've seen the stats against the New York Mets for Harrison.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely insanity. Met fans have been losing their minds when they see Harrison Bader basically be at the plate. He has been clutch for the Phillies. Granted, he was a guy at the trade deadline anybody could have gotten. And he's going to the Phillies. I remember that signing run, and I'm like, that's just a perfect fit. Just like kind of that overall vibe of the clubhouse. Bader's been kind of coming in, and he's really been playing exceptional baseball. Right now, he has in terms with the Phillies, a 339 batting average, and 942 OPS. Now, this is obviously granted, this is a small sample size because it's obviously the second half splits. But Harrison Bader, he already has, never mind. He has 4 home runs. He has 16 homers total, 52 RBIs. Harrison Bader, Ryan, has been an incredible fit for the New York Mets. The Philadelphia Phillies. He was a Met, but he was an incredible fit for the Met. Don't get me wrong, but for the Phillies, I feel like it's been next level.
Oh, he fits. He looks good in a Philly uniform. I'll say that.
Yeah.
For me, who's hot? I'm gonna go Randy Arozarena from Seattle. He's been swinging the bat. He's been swinging the bat pretty well. In his last 7 games, he's hitting .370 with a home run and 7 runs batted in. 10 for his last 27. His last 15 games, he's batting .300 with a .394 on base percentage, slugging .517, 3 home runs and 12 runs batted in. He's a big reason why the Mariners have started to play better recently. Him and Josh Naylor specifically, the two of them have been catalysts for that Mariner offense. So you know what, and Josh Naylor I think has also been playing pretty well recently. I just want to quickly look up his numbers over the past week or so. So Naylor, on the other hand, holy Moses, this takes a long time. Josh Naylor, he has been hitting .320 in his last 7 games and .286 in his last 15. So, and he also has 3 home runs in those stands. So, yeah, the two of them have definitely been reasons for the Mariners playing better recently.
Okay, my who is not player, and that is going to Cincinnati Red, Matt McLain. Matt McLain was kind of a regarded player, highly regarded player for the Reds. And as of recently, let's see Matt McLain's numbers. Yeah, Matt McLain, 228. Ryan, remember, Matt McLain batted .290 to finish off his numbers last year with the Reds in his first year. This year, he has a .228 batting average with a .354 slug and a .664 OPS. Last year, he had an .864 OPS. So it's about 200 points down from where he was last year. So Matt McLain for the Reds has not been great, compared to what he had in his first year.
My who is not is Manny Machado. He has really slumped. In his last 7 games, get ready for this.
Oh boy.
His last 7 games, .069 batting average.
I did not. Wow. Okay.
2 for his last 29. One of them was a home run. But he's also hitting only .133 in his last 15, and he's hitting .178 in his last 30. So Machado has just been really cold recently.
Wow.
Yeah, so Machado is who's not for me.
All right. Well, that'll do it for episode 83, right?
Yep.
84, Ryan. Wow, Ryan. We're almost getting to the 100 mark. We'll see specifically how much more we have for that. But regardless of the fact, thank you guys for watching another episode of Hitting for the Cycle. Make sure, of course, to follow us on all of our socials down here, down the ticker bar below. Of course, you guys can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, of course, as well as YouTube. We want to, of course, thank you guys for watching. We will be back next week for another episode 85 of Hitting for the Cycle. Ryan, of course, thank you for coming on as usual. This is your host, Ben Kruse. Thank you guys for watching another episode. We'll see you guys next week.